Welcome. I hope everybody can hear me. I don't know if my mic is working. We're here again at Arromanches. You can see the Sherman burial back here. I don't know if I said this yesterday, but this is not the original burial back. The original was an early M4A2 and not this type. This type, this Sherman did serve in the French military. I have no idea if it actually served in World War II, but by the looks of it, it was a range target at some point, so maybe it did. But I have no idea what the original name of this tank was. Back in the day, you could walk up this cliff here. There was a path, and you could walk up all the way up to the radar station above. Of course, this Sherman tank is on top of this bunker, and like I explained yesterday in my live stream, there was a Pak 40 in this bunker at one point, but somebody, placed a wooden thing on top of that on top of those bars, and you can't look into that bunker anymore, so you can't know if there is still a Pak 40 in that bunker. But I always wondered if it's still in there, or if somebody took it out, maybe restored it, maybe it's in some sort of museum now. It's certainly not in that museum. There's also a few guns and vehicles here, and a part of the Mulberry harbor here. And here is that disappearing and reappearing half-track. There you have it. This half-track is always in a great condition. They really do great with the upkeep of this half-track. And there's also a Pak 88 and a pounder there. Pak 88 should be in the corner here, yes. This Pak 88 came from the museum in Avranches. Are you joking? I'm here with my son. He's joking. What is it, little guy? Oh, oh. Are you bored? No? He's watching with me. He finds this truly interesting for some sort of reason. But these 88s came from France. I lost my count of thought. These are actually Spanish 88s. They were bought up by the museum in Avranches, and they had an assortment of 9 of these Pak 36s, or 30. This is 37, and most of them were cut up, and you can easily spot them because they're all cut up in the gun breech, and the most of the front of the gun is cut off. I think this gun is also cut off. By the looks of it, is extremely short. One of the guns went to the Bastogne tank museum there. The other one, I think, is at... Oh, I forgot where it was sent to. The R2 sent to another museum, but I have no idea where it went. Yeah, one went to the Overlord Museum. I have no idea. This one, you can even see that the breech is cut if you look closely. There's a cut here and a cut there. That's pretty much what the Spanish did. They also cut it here and over in this spot. The Spanish gun laws are extremely high, so you have to cut everywhere if you want to display this. So somebody had these guns in display in Spain, and they were sold to the museum in Avranches, and when the museum in Avranches closed, they were all sold to all sorts of museums all over the world. So if you spot an old rusty Flak gun somewhere and it has all these cuts, it came from the museum in Avranches. Let's go somewhere else. Oh yeah, there are also some bunkers here if you find it interesting to view some of the bunkers that are still at Arromanches. There's one Tilburg here that defended the beach. Of course, there is that bunker over here a machine gun bunker. And there was a few Tobroks here, but I think they plummeted all into the sea because the erosion of the cliffside here. This one is also going to be in the sea one time, and you can see the old road where the old road was. And when I first got here in I think in the 1990s, there was a huge part of the cliff still on this side of the road, and it's all gone. So that's pretty extreme. You can see the old path, where the old path was, where people walked to see those fortifications. Okay, we can go to one of the other tanks. You can see here. Hope you all enjoyed the live stream from yesterday. It was pretty interesting. Oh yeah, this one we already saw is the Sexton tank. This one is always in the same condition. The upkeep is really great on this one. If you look at the street view in 2011, it's still in the same condition. And it's never been repainted by the looks of it. Here it looks slightly darker because of the color saturation, but it's still the same paint job. So if you keep it clean, it will not rust. Oh yeah, there's another thing placed here that's also interesting. It's a ammunition carrier. They would pull these behind the Sherman tanks or other tanks. And it would be full of ammunition or other stuff. Whatever they needed. And they were mounted under the tanks. And when they would deploy, they would pull them behind them over the beaches. And the troops could take whatever they wanted out of these containers. Have a look at some of the other tanks. Of course, if you drive this road, you will pretty much spot everything you want to spot. So, like this bunker, and you will spot the Churchill tank from off the road here. If you drive alongside this Renault's garage dealer, you will spot the AVR tank pretty easily. If you have questions, guys, just ask them. I have the chat here. The Avalanche, this AVR tank, was found on the beach here, and I explained this yesterday already. It was found in a crater. It drove onto the beaches and got stuck into a crater, and the crew just bailed out and left it there. And after the war, it was just covered, and it was found again on the road. I think under one of these roads into the entrance of the beach. It's now nicknamed Charlie. There are some bunkers here, of course. This bunker here, and you had a bunker over here. This is not a bunker, that's a toilet. This bunker is pretty much overgrown. There is a bunker entrance here. It's just the crew quarters. And some bunkers here. You can see a flak position over here, and a mortar bunker, and some other bunkers. It's really funky angle. Is another bunker position. The flak wall of the. What are you doing? The anti. Oh my god, I lost my train of thought here. And I'm extremely thirsty for some reason. Look at some more bunkers here. This is the bunker with the iron turret on top that was cut off. It's one of the bigger observation bunkers. There's a few bunkers here, and a bunker that had a FD-17 turret on top of it. And of course this Pak 40 bunker with the anti-flanking wall that's been broken off, and the other anti-flanking wall is also missing. There are a few bunkers here in the sea you can spot, and probably don't want to walk to because you're going to get in all of this crap here. I made the mistake on stepping in that sludge once, and it's a sort of residue of snails and that sea plants and all sort of things. High tide and low tide beaches are not the cleanest beaches in the world. There is also another tank here. If you drive along this side, you will encounter another Churchill AVRE tank. This is the other one. Blop. And it was restored recently in this really interesting green color. And all these side skirts on top of it are plastic. Or, yeah, some other not iron material. I have no idea what it's called in English. If you look at the street view in 2008, it was a bit rusty. You can see these side skirts are still iron, and if you look at other dates, it was restored. It's plastic side skirts, and you can see that people are walking on top of it. You can see that it's all white. The plastic is revealed. For some odd reason, the tactical number of the tank is blurred out by Google. Okay, Google, whatever you want. That's really weird. I think it's just an automatically system that blurs out things that look like license plates. That's why the back of the numbers here are blurred out. For some odd reason, they didn't register that license plate, but maybe it's too far away. Other tank. There is another tank. There is a dozer here. Yeah, a Centaur tank that it's dressed up like a Centaur tank, but it's a Centaur dozer. Here's the Centaur. I did this one. I showed in a live stream. It's a originally a dozer Centaur that came from Bovington, I think. And these original dozer Centaurs don't have any turrets, so they placed this turret on top of it. And I know what you're thinking, but that looks like a Cromwell tank, and it's not a Cromwell tank. The Cromwell tanks had a different gun layout, and I think even a different engine and suspension system. And these numbers, yeah, I will explain it in full detail some more. These tanks were actually used on top of the landing crafts, and these numbers were used to pinpoint a position. There was a guy outside that would calculate where the guys should shoot, and they used these numbers for that. You can also see that this turret was used as a range target because it has multiple hits. There's a hit here and a penetration hit here. You can even see that the side is protruding because the shell just went through and hit the inside and protruded the outside out of there. It's a pretty interesting tank to see the damage. Of course, the damage is all done by modern ordnance, so it just melt through it. The other side also has some interesting battle damage. Of course, as you can see, this tank has not been restored since I placed it here. Here's some other battle damage. And don't know if you can see the old tank that stood here now. You can see that it's in a lot better condition in 2008. But sometimes in the 2000s, they replaced it with another tank because the sign at the back still says Churchill tank. And there was a Churchill tank at one point here because I seen it in real life in the 1990s at some point. And it was then replaced by this dozer version. Some of the other tanks you can drive along Sword Beach here if you want to. Then you end up at Westerham, and you have the other museum here, the Bunker Museum. If I can find it. I've always trouble in finding this museum because everything is so gridded and everything looks alike. There is almost nothing left of the old town of Westerham. The casino has been replaced with a gigantic new casino. Most of the original houses on the beachside are gone. It's placed in this grid fashion. So most of the older houses are gone, and that makes it hard to find the original bunker that's been here. Of course, the bunker, when the bunker was built, there were no houses here. So this is the bunker, the grand bunker, the grand blockhouse. What are you doing? Wil je ook op de livestream meedoen? Yes, he wants to be in the livestream. There's a steward here, an M7 priest. Yeah, it's an M7 priest. This priest was found on the ocean bed. It sank during D-Day. This landing craft you see here was actually the original landing craft that was used in Saving Private Ryan. Oh, and there's the priest. There is a sign here that says everything about Saving Private Ryan and that the landing craft is used there. You can also see a Flak 37 here. You can see this barrel is a lot longer than the one that was in other months because they cut off the front of the barrel. I can't see anything on the chat. Maybe it's a bug. Most of the time you guys are talking and asking me things. Yeah, see, the chat was just bugged or something. I had to re-upload it. You can hear me loud and clear. And Luke says, weren't you drunk last stream? Yes, I was. Raystone says, enjoying the stream. M1M3R says, great work. Could you share these map files? I can make a video about this and show everything that's around Normandy and place it online if you guys like. Of course, you can always watch this live stream back and use it as a guide to everything you want to see in Normandy if you visit. There's also this monument here that's built on top of a bunker, if you're interested. And it's built on top of one of those iron observation posts. Of course, most of the bunkers are gone because they redesigned this whole place. There's a karting place here. Karting is a lot of fun. There's a kiddie section and a normal section by the looks of it. And of course, this is the Orne River and the Khan River that will lead to the Pegasus Bridge. So if you're an Oyster Ham, you can easily visit Pegasus Bridge. There was another Centaur tank here, as you can see. Probably when I go to Google Maps, it's gone. Yes, it's gone. It's replaced with this Flak gun. The original Flak gun was original at this point because the original Pegasus machine was at this section. There's also a really nice store here under this. If you walk along this river, you can go to the left, go down, and it's a really nice antique store right there. Oh, that's a gigantic ship. You can see the bridge is open on this Google Maps shot. That's interesting to see. And here it's closed again. Of course, this is not the original bridge of the Pegasus. This is the cafe that's always been there. The observation tower, and here is one of the bunkers left. It's a bunker that still has the 75 in it. Maybe we can see it from this point. Oh, there's a stupid fan in the way. You cannot see a little bit of the 75 here. Originally, the Horsa gliders would have landed in this swampy area right here. At, I think it was 1 o'clock in the night or 12 o'clock in the night. It took half an hour to assemble, and they attacked the Pegasus Bridge, and they took it, I think, in a half an hour. Other Horsa gliders would land on the other side here to take the Renville Bridge or the Horsa Bridge. Yeah. Oh, you're going away now, baby. You're too squiggly and screamy. Go sleepy. Another. Do you know the Piat story of the Pegasus Bridge? The Piat story. No, I'm not familiar. I know that they were attacked by Panzer IVs and Panzer IIIs, and they laid on this road to the side and shot a Piat inside of that Panzer III tank. That's how they ambushed those Panzer IIIs. It It also could be this road near the Ranville Bridge, now named the Horsa Bridge. This was also a turntable bridge at one point. It's now a normal bridge, but back in the day it was a turntable bridge that could turn sideways, horizontal. This is over the river on the Orne. Okay, from here you can go to the Merville battery if you want. I showed this yesterday. And there's also a really nice Douglas. And of course you can also go to this battery, the observation point in Merville. It's an old 17th century fort with some of the observation towers. This is an observation bunker, and that's the bunker which had a Renault turret or a Samoa turret on top of it. Now here are the two blockers that I showed yesterday. Let's go a little bit higher. If you are coming from Belgium or the Netherlands, you can also visit this place here if you want. That joined in the Fontaine battle. There's a monument here with a Churchill tank. This monument is dedicated to the British and Canadian troops that attacked this place. There was a section they had to cross here. I don't know if I can find it on the map, but they had extreme trouble in crossing a river, and the Churchill and the tank brigade assisted in creating an artificial bridge, like you can see here, the artificial bridge in front of the tank as a memorial. And for some reason they make gigantic holes here in the ground. That's sad. This was a really nice path you can walk on with all sorts of animals and cows, but now there are gigantic holes here. That would be nice if you lived here. You have a nice luxurious home, and they're going to build some gigantic silos for this harbor over here. There goes your property value. And there are also some interesting monuments along this coast here for the Battle of weirdly enough, the Battle of Dunkirk. Some ships all the way ended up all the way here in the 1940s, and it sunk here. And there is a monument with some guns, and you can still see the ship somewhere along this coast line. And it's low tide. I have no idea where it actually is, but for some odd reason it ended up here. Here's also a battery, a gun battery, a German gun battery. Like I said, the most interesting gun batteries are on this part of the coast. Look at this, it's all gun batteries, it's not normal. One observation bunker, another observation bunker, some bunker hanging off the cliff here. Maybe we can show it in 3D, yes. Look at that. Some sort of bunker here, some machine gun bunker, some observation bunker here, a gun position here, a lot of gun positions here. And this was probably an old French fort at one point, and the Germans retrofitted it again. As you can see, it really looks 1800s or 1700s style of building. And these are the most interesting forts you can visit. Mostly they are intact and in a better condition than they are in Normandy, because there are so many tourists. This is probably a commando bunker, so that's also really interesting. And that's another few bunkers over here, but that's a radar bunker. Yeah, that's a radar platform for a German radar bunker. Interesting. Yeah, if you want to find these places, you just have to scout these Google Maps, and mostly if you see these high places, there will be, of course, bunkers on top of them. Like here, that's also a bunker, and there's also a bunker at this one of these points that's hanging off the cliff, and there's drone footage. If you type in Le Havre, you will find a drone video with a bunker that's hanging off the cliff a lot. And the only thing is that the bunker is held onto because it's built inside of the ground like this, like you can see here. And the the ground is starting is erosion, and these bunkers are hanging off the cliffs all over the place. This is really interesting to see. That's not a bunker, that's a farmhouse. So yeah, a lot of bunkers along these coastlines. Really interesting. Of course, we're going to have a look at this section, and of course at this section where the Falaise Gap closed and the Germans were retreating, there are a lot of French tanks there that were knocked out inside of the battle. Of course, here's another interesting spot. During the Battle of Caen, the Canadians had a mission to stop retreating and counterattacking Germans. And at one point, several Shermans attacked this road, and the other Shermans, a group of Shermans, attacked this road, and they had to retreat at one point. And one Sherman wanted to cut off this part of the road here to get out of the way because he was about to get shot. And he clipped this point of the wall here, and you can see that it's literally track marks on this wall because the Sherman climbed up this wall and it's tipped over because of it. So it made a roadblock of this small and narrow road because of that. So that's also really interesting. The Canadians couldn't attack at that position again, and the Germans also were forced to retreat and go the other way around because of that. So that's really also really interesting. It's also a really gigantic farmhouse that poses a really big wall of defense, as you can see. Of course, the other houses weren't there. This was all open ground. But it was, of course, trying to get behind this piece of the farmhouse for cover, and it clipped the wall and tumbled over. Of course, this farmhouse was there. This was all not. One of the big Roper farmhouses probably had a farmhouse here. Mostly they are shaped in some sort of H form. But this is changed over the years, of course. I'm going to read some of the comments. VW Power says hi. Goo goo gaga. Goo goo gaga. In my town they placed a new monument 8 months ago, says Jappa. Oliver says the British Sergeant Thornton, who had landed in a glider, point to gliders, that is at the Renville Bridge of the Pegasus Bridge, was on the side of the road waiting for German tanks who had seen Romer's flare. He waited until the flare was shut off because they captured the bridge. Until the tank was beside him, less than 30 yards from him, his gun and a Piat shown here was notoriously unreliable, so he wanted to get closer to the enemy tanks. When he took the shot, it hit the tank dead center, scaring the second tank away and setting off the ammunition of the German tank. The Germans thought that the British had larger guns because of the large explosion. Thornton's shot stopped the Germans from sending in more tanks. Indeed, that's true. Also, the Piat was like you said, unreliable because it had a spring that would fire the rocket. So you know those old 80s toys with those springs? Yeah, those were better spring-loaded weapons than the actual Piat. This is another point of interest in the Battle of Caen. For Hill 112. There's a Sherman here and a pounder gun over there of Sherman. It's a Churchill. I can't go on this road. I can't go any further. Maybe you can see some pictures here. But this Sherman, yeah, this Churchill was found under a road. Back, I think, in the 70s, close to here, and they pretty much restored it and placed it on this on this spot. The only thing that was missing from this tank were pretty much the engine decks, but they were replaced during restoration. This was in pretty good condition for finding it on the road. It probably was left abandoned or knocked out for some reason. And back in the day after World War II, they pretty much collected everything they would find and pretty much dug a hole, and they would dump it into that hole, because they pretty much wanted to get rid of everything they could find. Of course, a lot of tanks were also scrapped, but sometimes if you are lucky, you will find a tank that is also buried. Just a guy says, in my time the Jagdpanzer 38T headshare was knocked out by a British mattress. Sadly, they scrapped it and there isn't even a monument for it. Oh, that's pretty sad. But if you watch metal detecting channels, and you have a few Dutch metaling channels, YouTube channels that are pretty good. They always seem to find big piles of stuff in one location, like a lot of weapons or other things. That's because they would dig up these holes, they would collect everything in this area, dig holes in a forest and dump everything in it. That was their solution, because there was so many stuff gathered everywhere. So they just had to dump it. Okay, now we can go to more of the St. Mary English sector and the Utah Beach sector. There's also a few vehicles that are interesting here. Yesterday I had to look at all these bunkers that are in this position. There's also really nice secluded bunker position somewhere in this section that has a few of their it's this section here, I think. No, that's the section with the burning bunker. I think it's somewhere over here. If you try to locate it on Google Maps, you just have to scout this section and you will find some smaller bunkers. And that's a really it's on private property and sealed off for tourists, so it's in pretty okay condition. It has a lot of the original iron left to strap on those AA guns and other stuff. I think it easily has some of the best preserved bunkers in the area. Like this point, this is also pretty well preserved, because this was also on private property at one point. Not anymore, but yeah, at one point it was on private property. It seemed to have recovered some of the bunkers here, because these were all underground. You can even see the old dirt on top of them. But if you find it interesting, there are a few tanks over here, one tank at least, and an M8 Greyhound and a half-track. And like I said yesterday, these vehicles were extremely rusty. They were falling apart. When I was here back in the 90s or so, I climbed on top of the M8 Greyhound, and I just started pulling on the engine deck. And I think I was 16 at the time or so, or maybe 12, 14. And I was a stupid child, and I just thought, maybe I can get this open, and it just broke off. I could open the whole engine deck and see the whole engine, and it was covered in sand. It was extremely covered in sand and extremely rusty. And the other half track was also extremely rusty. You could just pull pieces off, and if you applied some force, something would break off. It was that extremely rusty. The only thing that was keeping the whole thing together was the paint. And the Sherman was in the same condition, but the Sherman has, of course, a lot more steel, so the rust doesn't really affect that much. But look how they restored them. They're in immaculate condition now. You can see a little bit of the damage. That you can see the side of these panels are replaced because they were just broken off. You could see a crack here because of the rust. And when I was there in the 90s, these side flaps of the engine compartments were still there, but of course somebody took them off, just like I did with that made Greyhound engine deck cover. And yeah, of course they took it home with them. And there are not a lot of pictures of these vehicles. I know that the The drive shaft was also extremely rusty, that it just broke off. It was hanging like this. So for some reason, if you pulled on that drive shaft, it would just snap off because of all of the rust. But yeah, they restored it to a pretty immaculate condition. Also, there's a piece, a landing craft here. One of the LSM's landing crafts. Okay, let's read some of the comments. Leonard says, interesting. Just a guy who reminds me of the dump pit history secrets found with contained around about 40 helmets, including World War 1 and VJ helmets. So sad he wasn't allowed to dig it all out, but had to leave it after 8 episodes. Yeah, in most countries metal detecting is not allowed. In the Netherlands, if you haven't get caught metal detecting, here's another piece of the Mulberry harbor. Here is a piece of landing craft, of the whole landing craft, and here is a piece of the Mulberry harbor that was placed at Oma. It floated all the way around here. Yeah, of course this place is littered with bunkers. This not so much. And if you find it interesting, the less dunes part, this section here, is the map of Postscriptum, the new map of Postscriptum. Okay, this section doesn't have any bunkers or guns or anything interesting. Yeah, there's a museum, only a museum here that has a turret, a newly restored turret. It's under this canopy, or this canopy, one of the two, and it has a British gun also. At one of the, I think this is the Stuart one, and this is the British gun one. So that's also really interesting to see. The Stuart also has some World War II damage, or I think it probably was a range target at one point. Here is that Stuart, freshly restored. It really looks nice. Nice paint job also. Of course, in French, it's the Contatine. The French would name their tanks separately. All tanks were named after provinces that were liberated in France. So Contatine was obviously a town that was liberated, so they named this tank the Contatine. Of course, when this tank got knocked out, most of the tanks were renamed Contatine 2, if the crew survived then. Another picture of the tank. There's another of these nice dioramas everywhere in all sorts of scales. So you have 1/16 scale, 1/35 scale. This is probably 1/16 scale, so that's gigantic. Another picture of that French Stuart. Here's the Stuart before it was restored. Flak 38. So yeah, that's pretty much. Here's nothing. This is the last point of interest. Another point of interest close to that is Camp Penton, where Penton set up his camp for his troops after going after Cherbourg. And there is also another Sherman here, 76mm Sherman. I bumped my mic. Name Lucky Forward, and it's of course an M4A1. And Eric says hello. Hello, Eric. Leonard says also hey. Hi everybody. And don't forget to press that like button. It helps out this channel and people get to see the live stream. Because sometimes YouTube forgets to notify people about the live stream. Oh yeah, another point of interest. If you are going to Saint-Lô, there is a Pak 40 here at Le Desert. And like I said, I don't do French, so maybe I can get a better look at this Pak 40. It's covered in battle damage. It was shot right through the underside of the mantlet here, and the shell exploded to the backside, so the back is totally damaged on the other side. This Pak 40 defended this road from incoming Sherman tanks, and it was taken out by a Sherman tank. The shell ricocheted under the Pak 40 and exploded behind them, killing the crew. But it's really interesting. Of course, I can't show you any pictures because it doesn't have any markings. But it's an interesting thing to see. Of course, painted in this ugly camo scheme. Maybe it was better in 2000. No, it's still in the same camo scheme. If I press, nah, no pictures at all. Maybe postkantoor. Well, yeah, here I say one picture. La Poste. Yeah, so you can see all sorts of damage. The one shell went right through this section here, and all the wheels also have a lot of interesting damage on top of them. It's all really interesting to see if you do scale modeling. You can see what damage these wheels take and what's actually the what effects had. I have a brain fart. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. Sometimes my brain stopped working. Also, Averans, this is where the old World War II museum was. But a lot of these museums disappear over time. Back in the day, there were a lot of museums outside this section of Normandy. But most tourists don't go here because they don't really care. They only care about their touristic spots like this. So most of the outside museums disappeared, just like the Averans Museum. And this is where the 88mm guns came from. And there's also a monument here. Look if I can find it. It's the Penton Monument. I think it's here. No, it's not here. Penton Monument. Ah, here it is. Hotel Penton, that's a dead giveaway. There's another Sherman here. So that's also really interesting. And it has an hedgehog crater on the front, so it's a rhino. Sherman rhino. Never seen that. That is new for me, that hedgehog crater. Let's go this way. Boo, I wanted to go around the corner. Can I click on the Penton plots? No. Hotel Penton maybe has a picture of the Sherman tank. Probably not. Oh my, that's a really ugly wall. Yeah, I'm not going to dig through that. You're going to find some awkward pictures and get your channel deleted. Like that pee-pee in the sand from yesterday. Yeah, it's really nicely restored, Sherman. But it's really far away from the normal place, so most people don't go here. That's probably why it's in this immaculate condition. It even has the original tool on the back. I think this tank was at one point called Thunderbolt. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, still nicknamed Thunderbolt. Some of the post office owns a puck. No, they don't own it. The town owns the puck. Good morning, one and all. Never fear. I am here, says Kananaman. Of course, if you want to go here and you're on your way here, there's a German cemetery in this area and Le Mont Saint-Michel, if you find it absolutely interesting. And if one other tip, if you go to this place, you can, of course, you can follow all the sheeple like the rest of all the tourists and go up this side, and that's of course the main route that everybody takes, and it's nice, of course, and you can go inside this one. Yeah, but this is you have to pay entry, of course, to go in that part of the church, or yeah, what do you call this? Castle? It's not really a castle. But if you go to the left side, where not all tourists go, you can go to this section. Go to this section. You can also go all the way to here, if you're crazy enough to walk around this spot. If you have low tide, you can walk around it if you want to. But if you're here, you have to keep in mind that high tide is coming extremely fast. You have to get out of there, or you're going to sleep there. But you can walk all the way to here. You can walk all the way to this point, to that point, and it looks like it's maybe staff related, but you can just walk here if you want to. It's not private property. And you can all the way walk around this side, and you'll get to the touristy part again. So that's also really interesting. Maybe you can drop somewhere. You can see you have all these walking paths on this wall. Also, what you have to keep in mind with the high tide and low tide is if you want to park your car somewhere, you can do that. There's a parking lot here. But keep in mind the high tide again. There was also a parking lot somewhere along this road, but it seems that it's gone. This was one point a parking lot. I've parked my car in this section here, and there were signs that you have to get your car out of there at one point because it will be on the water, and probably some stupid tourists forgot to do that, and they removed the parking lot in total. It's a really small piece of land to park your car. I wonder how they do that now then. Oh, you probably have to park here now. Oh my, oh no. Oh, it's a bus route now. Oh, that's annoying. You can't even go with your own car here anymore. You have to pay a bus to get to that point. Stupid tourists ruining everything for everybody. Yeah, enough of that. I know there is a German cemetery. It's really big German cemetery somewhere along this road. If you come to this crossing, one of these crossings here, there is a sign. Yeah, look at this. This is our new Saint Michel's parking lot. Ah, that's annoying. All because stupid people wasted this perfectly good parking spot and forgot their car, of course. And people whine and complain about it, and then it gets changed. Now, on the other side of Normandy, if you find it interesting to visit this part of Normandy, there is a half-track somewhere here. Somebody said about Mont Saint-Michel, it's a religious fortress. Yes. Is the half-track here? I don't think it's here. Ah, it's here. It's an M16 half-track. There are a lot of M16s around Normandy. Probably because the French used a lot of these M16s meat choppers. Of course, this is also the half-track that knocked out that bunker on Omaha Beach. But the 75 inside of it. I have no idea why it's placed here or what the actual history of it is. But as you can see, there are information signs if you find it interesting. Also a really nice town. Some really interesting old style houses. So you can dump your wife here and you can go and visit that half-track. Go shopping, woman. Leave me alone. Another spot is, of course, the Vimatiers. Vimatiers is somewhere here. It's closer than that. Here's Monthermel. Monthermel also has a museum point and a high ground. Somewhere, where's the hill, the Monthermel hill? There's a museum on top of that. It has a Greyhound and a Sherman tank. Here's the Troon area where the Troon scrapyard was. St. Lambert's Dive. This is the place where the the Pak 36 of the Flak 38 was at one point before it was stolen. You can see it here. There's the Flak 38 monument. Sadly, it was stolen. Maybe you can see it in some pictures if somebody took a picture. No. Also, if you type in St. Lambert's Dive and you type it into Google and place Flak into there, you will find it. Another interesting half track is here at this point. It's another M16, of course. It's there. The M16 part is moved. Yeah, you can't really see it up close, but yeah. It's also really in an okay condition. Even though it's open-topped. Most of these things are closed off because of the rain and erosion. Let's go to FEMA tiers. For the Tiger tank. Tiger tank that was retreating along the side this road and ran out of fuel. Of course, now it has a fence around it. Let's see some more of the comments. Sophiline would kill you for that. Okay, let's have a look. Leonard says, when we were there, they were breaking up the parking lot area. Yeah, that's... you were precisely on the right time then. It's really annoying that they always do things like that. Tourism gets so extreme and they have to change things that way. I think you can also... it was also free parking at one point. I don't understand that those parking lots were good enough. Yeah, okay, you have high tide and low tide, and people were stupid to forget their car. If I visited that place a few times, I think 5 times or so, and one time there was a car actually in the water, and those people complain, of course, because their own stupidity. And yeah, they changed it like that to make a nonsensical bus route because people are just too stupid. And again, Sophiline would kill you for saying that. Come on, says, come on, guys, press the like button. Roma said 50 likes, and it's cheap for you to turn the phone blue. The one pointing up. And are you crazy? Don't send her shopping. That costs you more money than can you sing. Just take her with you and say, I like to get some pictures of you with it. Most girlfriends and most women don't really enjoy all this. They get really pissy really fast if you show too much of this World War II stuff. So yeah, you have to trick her and sort of entertain her in letting them know you are going to a shopping mall, but actually you're going to that half track. Just like, oh, let's go to this castle over here in FEMA tiers. One of these castles. There is a gigantic castle here, the FEMA tiers castle, which I can't find right now. Why can't I find a gigantic castle? But okay, there is a castle right here, and you say to your girlfriend, oh, let's go to this beautiful castle, but except you are going to that tiger over there. Guys, why not? Also seen, I think this is my picture. Hey, this is my picture at the top. That's awesome. My picture is top picture. Also a drone shot with a dude on top. And these are the people that ruined it for everybody, climbing on top of the tank, and that's why there's now a fence around it. Also, this is a shot from the interior of the tank. You can see all these cracks. A 1970s Google. But all the cracks on the turret were from trying to scrap it. So one of the insides. Look how destroyed the inside is. the outer wall is just totally blown out. Also one of the hull pieces that's been bent around. The size comparison with that 206 or 209. As I always said, don't climb on these things. All these things you see here, all those rust and other things you can see here is all because people are climbing on top of it. You can also see most of the sometimes, not always, but on some tanks you can even see that the iron is denting because people are always climbing on that part of the section, and it's just erosion from every time somebody is stepping on top of it. Look at this crack of that tank. It's the part of the armor. And that's probably because they were cutting. You can even see the cutting lines on that. It's from not a blowtorch. I think it's one of the other cutters you have. And for some reason they try to bend it to get it to break. Most people think it's because of the explosion that cracked all the armor, but that's not true. Cracking doesn't cause that sort of cutting damage. That's why a blowtorch or I think it's called something else. Because if you want to visit this, you can go to Montreal. There's a nice museum there. A memorial Montreal. It also has a Sherman, a Polish Sherman, 75, and an M8 Greyhound over there. Let's look at some of the comments. Does the Tiger have simmered? No, that Tiger didn't have simmered. The original, of course, back in World War II, it did have simmered. So, I have to do something here. Okay. Let's have a look at some of the more of the comments. Every vacation is like this. Hey, we go to Germany and there are bunkers and some museums close to it, but fear not, my precious female sidekick. There are cute villages and shops for you. Kananaman says, my wife is Vietnamese and she loves having pictures taken of her. That's how I get her over there. I want some money. And they buy a drink later. Yeah. That's also a way. If your wife likes a lot of Instagram pictures of her of what and how you can sort of manipulate her in taking pictures of that sort of thing. Yes, that's what I meant. It's a plasma cutter, Chase. Thank you for that. And here's the 76 millimeter Sherman. Makzuka. Maybe we have some Polish people that can say I'm totally pronouncing that wrong. Makzuka. Sorry for the misspelling. Oh no, I know what you meant. And here is General Mekchek. He's the one that liberated Breda in the Netherlands. And this guy is, if you want to look up an amazing story about a real hero, you have to look up this guy. What he went through is atrocious after the war. After the war, the Polish government didn't want to pay him his veteran money he got from fighting in the war, because Poland was taken over by the communists. And at one point he had to leave Poland. I don't know the exact story anymore, but he had to leave Poland and he was living in extreme poverty. At one point he couldn't even get any food anymore, and he was becoming homeless. The Dutch government got word of this and decided that they would pay his veteran money for him and buy a house for him and pretty much make sure he didn't live in poverty anymore. So he got a lot of money and a lot of stuff, which he deserved, of course, because he did a lot of great stuff for the Netherlands. But yeah, that's pretty much his story. And he always wanted to go back to the Netherlands, and yeah, he had a great he loved Poland. Of course, he loved his own country, not the communist part, but he loved the Netherlands, he loved Poland, he had great connections with France, all sorts of things. Yes, Breda in the Netherlands. There's even a Mech museum in Breda. It was just opened. They didn't want to open it because of the coronavirus, but they did because they found it was needed, because it was 75th anniversary of the liberation of Breda. So a lot of interesting pictures. Not much of the museum that's under this point, under this hill. Another interesting point, and whoa, Eric asked, "What's a live stream?" This is a live stream, or a liver stream. Did I say liver stream in my title? That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to change that if it says liver stream. Another interesting point here is, look at it. We had to look at it. Half track over there is one of these 3 Sherman tanks over here. The first one is in. I'm not going to pronounce that word. It's not going to end well. But it's the Massasoit. Massasoit? The Sherman Massasoit, the M4A2. And this is one of the most interesting Shermans. It liberated this part of town on 12th of August. And they simply just drove in without any resistance. They were with another Sherman. This Sherman was had a mission to make sure the Germans didn't retreat from this point. So they were at this side of the town, probably a lot closer to this part of the town and not at this end of the town, because the outskirts of the town changed over the years, of course. But most likely they were at this part of the town. They spotted a Panzer IV coming from this road at one point. And the Massasoit, without any warning and repositioning, just shot at the Panzer IV and knocked it out. The next day, they were sent to the other side of town along the Orne River. Bit here or here at this point. I don't know at which point of the Orne River they were precisely. There also could be at this street. It's not really known. But the Germans counterattacked from this side of the Orne with Tiger tanks and a few Panzers. And the Tiger tanks shot at the other tank and missed. And the second shot from whichever tank, we don't know, hit the other tank and knocked it out. It burst into flames. The Massasoit got hit in the side, in the back. And you can see a few shots here. It was firstly hit in the engine and automatically didn't really burst into flames because this is a diesel engine, so it could take a few hits. The other part hit the radio section, I think. And then the other 2 shots came in. There is also a shot that went right here on the other underside, and one of these shots went through the other side, and there is a picture on the internet you can find of this tank getting shot by that 88, and you see that blast coming out of the side from it. One of these shots also launched the commander out of the commanding cupola, and he landed a few meters from the tank and was wounded. He later joined up in his crew again in the Massasoit too, and died when that tank was also hit. And the rest of the crew, the driver, suffered only a broken leg. The other crew was also wounded, but they all survived. And you can see a picture of this thing. I uploaded the picture just in case I couldn't find it. Here's one of the older pictures of it. And there's also one interesting thing. It had interesting side skirts at one point that were removed by the restoring team for some odd reason. Let's have a look. Where's that picture I uploaded? Yeah, you can see here. It was hit by the 88, went through it, and you can see the blast coming. You can see the guy running from the other Sherman tank that was hit. And the Massasoit didn't even know where the shots were coming from. The other tank didn't know either because his turret is pointing the other way. So they were both were confused. And you can see the crew from the other tank climbing off that tank right over there that was already knocked out, and the crew running right here. So that's one of my favorite pictures of all time. You can see one of the crew members from the Massasoit running out of the tank after it was hit for the last time, or maybe the third time. Kanana says that's a really heartwarming story. It's a really interesting story, and I'm glad that all the crew survived. Because this is one of the most horrific stories. The other Sherman tanks are pretty okay and didn't get hit so much. This wing got destroyed, and some odd reason it was even hit in the ammo. You can see the extreme violence the tank experienced because the armor plates that are on this side are just bounced off from the ricocheting shots inside. And you can even climb into this tank, and I've been in this tank, and it's totally destroyed inside. The gearbox is broken in 3 pieces. So it's even a wonder if anybody survived in there. You can see the other side, the applicant armor that was welded to this side is also broken off from this shot. So it went to that piece of armor and that piece of armor. It could also be that one of these shots landed first and the armor was already broken off when this shot came in. As you can see, the tracks are all burned up because it caught fire after that. It's mostly the rubber pads that did just burn off. They easily catch fire. Another old picture of it. You can see some of the tracks are still intact here. And over the years, the erosion is deteriorating the rubber. Rubber doesn't really like or enjoy time. Rubber deteriorates pretty fast. So that's my picture in the bottom. The other Sherman tank, and I think that was on... No, it's on the same day. It was knocked out on the same day, attacking the German forces that were in this area. It's the Sherman Karen. This tank didn't have a really happy ending. It was only hit once in the turret, and that was enough to kill most of the crew. The commander was dead instantly. The loader was dead instantly. Which tank killed that Sherman? It's unknown. I probably think it was the Tiger. There was maybe 1 or 2 Tigers that were launched into that attack, and a few Panzer IVs. One Panzer IV was knocked out the day before by the Massasoit, and then the other forces retreated, but they placed a counterattack and came back with Tigers, and the Tiger knocked out the first Sherman and then the Massasoit. Karen was also knocked out by a Pak 40 or an 88 in the side of the turret on the other side. You can't see it from here. But of course it had a large explosion. You can't see any explosion damage, only for here. The hull is bent. And if you look on the underside, the plates that are on the underside just totally blown out. The engine is also blown out. You can see the gaskets and everything. Let's have a look if you can see some pictures of this tank. Maybe you can see the battle damage on there. No. But if you look out, you can also see the applicant armor is broken off of the tank because of the force of the hit. Again, these plates just break off because of the huge impact. And it's a gigantic hole on the other side. I've seen it myself, and it's not a pretty sight. The whole underside of this section is blown out. And the only one that survived is the radio operator, I think. There's a monument for the crew that died in this tank. But the next day, the Germans retreated to this forest section. Here. They retreated inside this forest section, and to regroup, the French army still went on to attacking them. And 2 tanks, 1 commander tank and the Valios Sherman M4A2 came up this road. And the commander tank was hit by a Pak 40. Instantly was knocked out. They bailed out. The crew survived. The Velos probably tried to go around it and was hit. No, I think was hit first in the gun barrel, but also could be because they tried to turn the gun around and was hit there. It was secondly hit under the gun mantlet. And I think only 2 of the crew members died. Yeah, the commander died and the gunner died. The gunner and the driver survived this. You can also see that it had 1 bounce shot from the Pak 40 right here. That a bounce shot, and the bounce shot ricocheted off under the gun mantlet here. The other shot, probably the last shot, hit precisely under this gun mantlet and penetrated, killing the commander and the gunner. The other shot came around here. Maybe we can have a closer look at those shots. No. It's really hard to see them. Yeah, you can see the ricocheting and the gun barrel bent because the gun barrel was hit. You can see that the inside of the tank, the hull here is totally broken. But it's interesting to see the original damage to the mud flap still. And here's an original picture of the Velos that I found and uploaded. Gonna have to look at the chat again because the chat doesn't update for some reason. Panzer. No, I was talking about the Polish soldier we talked about earlier. Oh, that's heartwarming. Yes, indeed, that's a heartwarming story. General Kaspek. Yeah, I don't really do Polish either. But you can see the applicant armor is still attached to this. The other applicant armor is also broken off because of the force. But here you can see the Velos being unloaded at D-Day. The M4A2 with its crew. This guy died. And the gunner also died. It's waving here. It's also an interesting gigantic forest here. Interesting to see this place. You can see that the Pak 40 had a pretty good vantage point wherever it was located, probably here in the forest. They came up here. Right where they peeked over. And they got hit. That's probably also why the shots are so high. All the shots are located in the turret here. Because that was the only thing that was peeking over the hill. For some odd reason, Google also censored the Velos name. It's really funny what Google decides to censor for some reason. But that's pretty much all the tanks in the area that are really interesting to see. There aren't really that more. And if you really want to see a lot of knocked out tanks, there are a lot at this section of France. Saarbrücken and Strasbourg. This section of France has a lot of knocked out French tanks and other American tanks, mostly French tanks for some odd reason. Now, it's pretty easy to understand because it is in French and they wanted to keep the French knocked out tanks more than the American ones, I think. There are a lot of monuments around Paris either. Also really interesting to see. I found these tanks to be the most interesting because you can see the battle damage, you can see the story unfold in front of your eyes, you can puzzle out which impact was hit first on this tank. You can pretty puzzle out everything you see in front of you. That's why the bunkers are also interesting to see, because you can see the battle damage they took. And Jersey also has a lot of interesting bunkers if you find that to be interesting to see. There are a lot of bunkers with original guns left. Not as much as the other island, but this one has a lot of interesting bunkers. If I can find them. No. No, here's one of the bunkers. It's one of the guns. Yeah, see, there is some of the iron turrets left, and this is an observation point. One of the guns. Some of the weird looking bunkers there. One of the other guns that's left. And these islands, the fortifications are really well preserved. So especially this island is littered with bunkers and guns. But let me know if you want me to have a look at Calais. There are a lot of bunkers there. Hello, Patrick. Yeah, there are a lot. I know there's a bunker museum close to the Netherlands here. I don't know precisely where, but there is a bunker museum right around this section. That's also really interesting to see, because that bunker section was sort of transformed. At one point, of course, the bunkers and the guns were pointing at the sea, but when the front started to change, the Allies would come from the other side, so they changed everything around. So you have bunkers and guns facing inland. So that's also really interesting to see. You have bunkers broken open, and they have all sorts of brick made and improvised protections made and all sorts of things. It's really weird to see a bunker just totally turned around for some odd reason. Sort of improvised work is pretty interesting to see. No, I don't seem I can find it. Museum van Duinkerke is Duinkerke. No, it's somewhere around here. It's a bunker museum. Really interesting. Of course, Pas-de-Calais has a lot of bunkers. Here's already a battery de Walden. Here's a bunker. More bunkers. Yeah, here you have the bunker, the gun bunkers. But look, by the looks of it, there's a separate MG turret. MG position to the side of that anti-flanking wall. Some weird round bunker I never seen. An observation bunker. Some commanding bunkers. A normal Pak 40, one of the Pak 40 bunkers with a flanking wall to the side. Another bunker right there. So yeah, you will find these fortifications everywhere. Yeah, the battery de Oldenburg. Look at those bunkers. Oh my, those are gigantic. Yeah, but the iron the iron top on top of that. With some weird... This is probably because they wanted to camouflage it as a house. These weird pillars you see here. There probably was a wood structure or something else on top of this. So they can camouflage it as a house. Patrick asks, why didn't they keep more of the German tanks? Yeah, because iron was scarce back then. So they just scrapped a lot of them. Plus they were... the iron was worth a lot of money. So they just collected them and scrapped them. Plus a lot of hate, of course, for the Germans. You can see some makeshift brick wall on top of that. Probably for a flak gun. That's a gigantic bunker, people. Oh my. There's an observation tower with brick walls to the side. Makeshift brick walls. Commando bunker. Crew quarters. Yeah, those are the gigantic bunkers, and you can pretty much see why the Allies would not attack this place and chose for Normandy instead. Another fort, one of the older French forts by the looks of it, and the Germans made retrofitted it with their own bunkers, as you can see. One destroyed bunker over here. Okay, that's sad. Probably because they are reorganizing this place. Yeah, they're destroying bunkers over here. Here's another bunker. Stupid morons. Why are you destroying history? Oh, that's really sad to see. They're destroying all these bunkers. Probably long gone by now. At least they are leaving the fort alone. Fort Rispin. Yeah, that looks... I have no idea what that is, but okay. You can see that the Germans... the fort is shaped like something. Here's a point, there's a point, and this side it's all gone because the Germans probably demolished all of this to build their one bunker right here. There must be another gun position right here over this side. Or probably, yeah, we're getting to the battery tot right here. It says there's a battery right here, but I don't see anything. That's a lake, that's not a battery. At the Grand Bunker Museum in Oysterham, that's also one of the bigger bunkers, but that bunker is not so big as the bunkers that are on this side of the of Europe. And there are even bigger bunkers at St. Malo. Here's another fort. This is pretty well kept fort, and not retrofitted by the Germans. Yeah, it's probably not close enough to the sea, so they didn't have any use for it. I wonder where this battery is located then. Yeah, there are bunkers there. Gigantic bunkers by the looks of it. And one of the smaller one-man bunkers. Yes, one of the guns. That's gigantic. And there must be some bunkers at this location, but probably overgrown. You can't see them for some odd reason. Yeah, there's a bunker here. Yeah, that doesn't really look like a really interesting place. it sort of looks like it's all craters, but it's probably just the type of land that's there. Probably some marshy land. Mm. Oh, that's a nude beach. Oh my. The battery of thought is here. There are a lot of bunkers at this point. Patrick says that history should be preserved as a reminder of the men who died to free Europe so they won't be forgotten. Yeah, indeed, I think so too, but a lot of these places are being torn down. And this place looks totally destroyed. There's not really much left from the old fort. You can see the sort of outlining. They built some new housing locations in some of the fort parts. You can see a German bunker right there, German-made bunker right there, and some gun positions right here. And it looks like they made a parking lot on top of it. So there's not much left of this location. Nah, there's not much left. But there is the battery of thought here. A große Corforts munitions bunker. That's gigantic. Probably gigantic. Let's have a look. Wow, that's not really that gigantic, but okay. I've seen bigger, and that's what she said. Yeah, here is the Atlantic Wall Museum we saw yesterday, with one of the munitions bunkers right there. Here's the battery bunker number 2. It's probably hard to get to this second battery. It's all covered in forest. You could still see the original paint job in the inside. Oh, this one is hit by something, or they just tore off the metal plate that's on top of that for scrap metal. Yeah, they probably tore off the metal dome. Batman. One of the OT half-tracks, post-war half-tracks. And the train gun. The other gun. This gun is probably much easier to get to. It's also destroyed. Yeah, all the top parts are gone on these. Probably the only one that's left is the one from the museum that's complete. So it is the forecast map. This one is certainly complete. The top part is torn off, but yeah, they scrapped all those top parts. That's obvious, because they're all gone. Hey, look at that! Some of the old text is even on that wall. Rehaufen, Großdeutschland. I can't read what's on the other side. I have no idea. It's hard to read. Some weird side thing to this one. Really interesting to see. I think the only one that's done pretty much complete is the one with the battery. The thought where that iron overhang is still there. Yeah, here, that iron overhang. They scrapped that on all the other bunkers. Did any of these bunkers see any action? No, they didn't. There weren't. Yeah, they fired at a few. I think they fired at a few ships during Normandy, but the railgun was operational at the time, and the railgun fired at London. That railgun right over there, that was also located at this spot. Not precisely this spot. I think it was located here, where this where this location is, but everything is gone here. So they relocated it to the Battery de Tot museum. There are a lot of bunkers at this point also. There's a huge cliff here. And you will find all sorts of bunkers hanging off the cliffs. That's a gigantic bunker, I think, by the looks of it. Oh, that's a dicey house to live in. Oh my. Yeah. I don't know about that one. Here's a bunker on this side. Another observation bunker here. Oh no, that's just a piece of concrete. Yeah, there are all sorts of pieces of concrete in that shape. Here's a Tobruk. One of the smaller MG bunkers. Yeah, no, there is a bigger bunker complex here. Oh, yeah, this museum is also a nice Sherman that was used in the war. It's an original World War II Sherman that was knocked out. One of the French Shermans jumped hard. You can see that it was used as a range target at one point, but is an original World War II Sherman. Of course, this is not the original jump hard Sherman, French Sherman, but it is one of the... and look at that. Now we know where one of the Spanish 88s goes that I mentioned in the earlier part of the live stream. That's one other 88 that is from the Overruns Museum. That's probably one of the Spanish 88s. Yeah, you can see it's... yeah. That's one of the Spanish 88s. It's demilitarized. It has the gun mantlet of the breech cut, like all the others. It also has a cut here. Yeah, that's one of the Spanish 88s. They even went to one of these, and of course the Overruns Museum had a lot. They probably had 8 of those 88 guns. I've never been to this museum, so I have no idea if it's any good. But I heard a lot of good things about it, so it probably is good. Of course, most people go to the Tot Museum. It's a nice looking Sherman. Probably is missing one of the top bogies here, or it's not really tightened well enough. It looks a bit off. Oh, those are some nice looking dioramas. Hey, Goliath. Hey, you can see here one of the pictures. Yeah, that's an 80. That's a Spanish 88. They cut it in the breech and in the barrel. That's a Spanish 88. It's a 73, 37. Also, one of the pieces is missing. Interesting. You can find those 88s everywhere. There's another Prussian. Another 88. A lot better condition. It's a 37. Also, you can see the new counterclocks. The round counterclocks are the 36 Flak. Oh, the Sherman. It's the Sherman, and that's a really rusty Goliath. It's one of the battery compartments. Or the top one is the battery compartments. This also can be the explosive compartment. I'm not really sure about the techniques of a Goliath. And that's also a really interesting museum. Need to have a look at that one in the future. And here's another fort. And not retrofitted by the Germans. Oh, it is retrofitted by the Germans. You can see a small cupola bunker right there. And probably this also looks a bit newish. So it is retrofitted by the Germans. And now there is a big gun position right here somewhere along the coastline. Yeah, this is the place where all the bunkers are falling down, with the coastline receding. I'm going to read some of the comments. Patrick is answering the same question I answered before. Yeah, you can see the bunkers falling down here. There's one that's lying on one observation tower that's lying on his back. One bunker that's clinging to life right there. And one of the other bunkers. It's sad to see all those bunkers fall down. One of the other observation bunkers. Oh my god, this cliffside is really deteriorating fast. And no, there is one point here at this section of France. There is a gigantic high cliff here, and there are all bunkers built in the side of it. And that's the point I'm looking for, but I don't seem I can seem to find it right now. One of the other bunkers here. A lot of nothing. And again, another gun position. With a lot this is the place we saw yesterday. One of the battery positions. With one of the bunkers. And another one of the bunkers. Yeah, this is the observation bunker. It's one of the smaller Tobruk bunkers. And of course the gun positions. 1, 2 by the looks of it. Can also be a water place. This water channel. And this is also a bunker that's peeking over. But these are the open bunkers, and then two normal bunkers, and probably an ammo storage right there. And one of the other bunkers that's hanging on for dear life. And here's the point. This is also one interesting one. With some of the bunkers here. Old fort style by the looks of it. Observation bunker, and another observation bunker. Of course, all for that battery over there. And here's more of the gun positions built in a 17th century fort. You can sort of see the old placement of the fort. Pretty much all gone, probably destroyed and retrofitted by the Germans. A gigantic bunker here. Some other bunker there. Maybe you can see it from the road. Alright, that's high up, yeah. This one is totally destroyed. This gun is pretty okay condition by the looks of it. And that's this one what we were looking at just now. That's that composition. I'm missing something. There is a gun position right here somewhere, but I can't seem to find it right now. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done with this live stream. We've looked at everything. There's a few gun positions here, as you can see. Not a gun position, not a battery. There probably are a few observation bunkers to the coastline. Yeah, there's a gigantic bunker here and a bunker that fell down. One of the command bunkers and one of another gun emplacement right there. And a gigantic fort, French fort. Doesn't really look like it's retrofitted. Yeah, here is some odd thing that pretty much looks German. And a small Tobruk there. Yeah, it's pretty much in an original state. Yeah, those are the things from the air. It's probably searchlights or something, or maybe guns. Some small German observation bunker built into it. Patrick says Mother Nature will someday wipe out all history. Yeah, pretty much. Another gun position right here. Doesn't look like you can get to that pretty easy. There's sheep here. Yeah, you probably can't visit that one. Looks like it's on private property. Some of the beaches, some more bunkers right over here, some gun positions. Yeah, one for Pak 40 to protect the beach. It's really oddly located. Oh, this is the Pak 40 site. It would protect all of this beach. There would be an MG here, some guns there. It's probably some other gun, smaller bunker here to protect the other side of the beach. Ah, yeah, here they are. Fallen. Erosion time again. They're all on the beach. Probably some pictures. Yeah, there they are. Graffiti again. Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of interesting to see all those bunkers. I know that there are a lot of other interesting bunkers at the other point of Normandy, of France. I know that there are a lot of bunkers here that are gigantic dunes that are sliding down. You have a lot of those pictures on the internet where you see all those bunkers in weird positions. Most of them are in this region, and some here. But the gigantic bunkers are all located at this point. Syre. Oh, bump my mic again. If you want to see gigantic bunkers, you really have to be at this place. If you scout this side of these cliffs here, you will spot so many bunkers. And a lot of those gigantic, like you said with the Grand Bunker in Oistram, those bunkers are everywhere here. They're all mostly in these neighborhoods. Sometimes I was on vacation here and we drove to these neighborhoods. We spotted probably 5 of them just driving around. They're gigantic. It's unheard of, so many. Yeah, here's one of them. We already seen this one yesterday. That's a gigantic bunker. Look at how tiny and weeny the bus is. A gigantic gun, an 88 there. Yeah, that's a thick boy. Okay, no, it's not in 3D. But that's a gigantic observation tower, and mostly if there's an observation bunker, there's probably a battery somewhere. I know that there are a few observation towers in this area, gigantic observation towers. Probably in this area here. Of course, a lot of nice beaches here. Yeah, if you want to have really extremely nice beaches, you have to go to this place on vacation. Yeah, here's the other gigantic gun position. This gun position is built into the side of the mountain or the cliffs. I showed this yesterday. But there are a lot more. When I was randomly driving around this place, I found bunkers everywhere. You have to drive 5 minutes and you will find the next spot. You don't even really have to look for them. They just appear. but it's also really built in here. There are a lot of houses, so spotting a bunker via Google Earth is not that easy. It's really touristic. A lot of beachfront properties. A lot of these old houses also. Back in the day it was even beachfront property. It's all beachfront property. Maybe this is a bunker. An observation tower. Oh, no, that's an old observation tower from a long time ago. Oh. I didn't want to go back. There's also a fort. One of the older forts. Yeah, a lot of these 7th century forts around this place. And the Germans just built on top of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to stop this live stream. If anybody has any questions left, you can ask them. You can see those cliffs right here. Nobody has any questions anymore. Not much to be spotted right here. One of the bigger bunkers here. And some sort of fort. Yeah, this is Sindasai. You have those gigantic U-boat bunkers. One here, gigantic bunker here. A lot of those bunkers were torn down over the years, but there were a lot more. Everything is pretty much sea here. It was built by the Germans. Probably a lot of these smaller bunkers here that would have those FD or Renault turrets on top of them. Yeah, a lot of beachfront properties. It's really hard to spot anything. But there is a lot, I can guarantee you. A lot and gigantic. But yeah. Luke says thanks for the stream, you're welcome. And Rayston also says thank you for a great stream, very interesting. And M1M3 ERR says great stream, keep them coming. You're welcome, guys. I enjoy doing these streams. Maybe I'm going to do one on the Battle of the Bulge. There are a lot of tanks I can show you here. A lot of unknown locations as well. So I know that there is a interesting tank located here. A few interesting tanks. At Luik. Hotten, Mayen, Roche, Bastogne. So yeah, there are a lot of interesting places to visit. One of the tank turrets. Back in the day, every entrance of Bastogne had a tank turret. Some of them are gone now. This place also did change a lot. There were all sorts of trees and bushes right here. They're all gone. And now a few of these tank turrets. There's one on this road, I think, somewhere. And now that there is one at a garage, a Ford dealership somewhere around this place. And one at a church somewhere near here. This is the other turret. It was relocated. It was somewhere on the other spot. This is the other turret. All these turrets are also original Sherman tanks that were knocked out during the Battle of the Bulge. Any U-boats in the area? Was there one person in charge of placing the bunkers alongside the coast? Most of the bunkers were probably built by the TOT organization. Do they have any plans to preserve some of these bunkers? Yeah. If there are a lot of tourists coming to the area, you will always see museums spawning from these smaller bunkers. So there will probably be some interest in preserving them. But the bunkers that are on these sort of cliffs, those are, yeah, dangerous to preserve because the cliff erosion is so extreme. They will just drop into the ocean one day. But I know that there are a lot of bunker preservation projects in the Netherlands, and I know that there are a few bunkers that are located in Zealand, and they are going to be student housing. They are going to preserve them. You can see here the anti-tank wall called the La Mur de North. One sort of bunker that's already fallen into the ocean here. But yeah, sometimes if people feel like it, they will preserve them, of course. But not all the time. But the Netherlands is doing a lot of work the last few years in preserving a lot of bunkers. Kokside Bad. Okay. Grand Fort Philip. It's probably not a fort anymore. Another question. In Samour, another city of France, a little tank museums are present. Yeah, in Samour you have the Samour Tank Museum. Indeed. Also really interesting, been there several times. I know that in the Netherlands you have a few bunkers here in Beverwijk. A few of the observation bunkers and a battery bunker. And one gigantic bunker somewhere, but yeah, here's one of the bunkers that's turned into a restaurant and a small museum on the top of it. Here's one of the battery bunkers, and here's another one. But the rest are not really that in an excellent condition. Of course, a lot of industry here. Steel works. Now there are some more interesting bunkers. I know there is a gigantic observation bunker here somewhere. A lot of beaches, a lot of nude beaches around this place. Of course, a bike parking lot, because Netherlands, we need to have a bike parking lot. Yeah, I can't find that gigantic observation bunker. It's somewhere around here, but maybe we're going to do some bunker positions in the Netherlands. This is also really interesting to see. Where am I? It's Bergenzee, Argenzee. Here is one of the older forts, Dutch forts. Not really much left. It's all retrofitted. With a few German bunkers by the looks of it. Some gun positions. Some original fittings, as you can see there. This is a gigantic fort at one point. Look at that metal plate. Some iron cupolas right there. A lot of new industry built on top of it, but it's sad they built all those new buildings on top of this fort. We can look from the road. No, you can see nothing. Probably all private. Probably don't want to get in there. It's government owned or something else. It's a caserna. It's military property. Yeah. No, you can't visit that place. A marine museum. I know this place. There are a lot of bunkers here, and a lot of Dutch warships also. There's also a bunker museum close by. Some of our leftover Dutch warships. And here you see the whole pretty much Dutch Navy. 2 boats and this thing. And that's it. That's pretty much the whole entirety of the Dutch Navy. Right there. Yeah, this is all military terrain. That's not blurred out by Google for some odd reason. All military terrain. Probably a lot of well-preserved bunkers. That's why that bunker position right there is preserved in such immaculate condition. With all the turning tables, the iron turning tables for the guns. Oh yeah, and some more comments. Patrick says, I watch a lot of your videos and follow you, love your videos, and I'm a former military. And these videos fascinate me. Hope you ever been metal detecting in France or everywhere. World War II related. A name pronounced is Mimer. Oh yeah, Mimer. I now see it. Yeah. It's the 1 is an I and the 3 is an A. Sorry for that. I've never been metal detecting because in the Netherlands you can get into a lot of trouble if you metal detect. And in France I never really metal detect. I sometimes search for stuff just by looking at it in Verdun. If you just look at the ground, you pull everything out of the ground. You don't even have to have a metal detector to find anything in Verdun. And yeah, I don't really keep busy with metal detecting. It's interesting, but yeah, to buy a whole metal detector for 1 day of stuff. Here's also a battery, and it's turned into a museum. A lot of batteries in the Netherlands are pretty much all museums. Pretty much all in good condition, restored, or anything else. Potgat. I have no idea what this is. Maybe someone in the comments knows what this is. Never heard of a Potgat. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to end it. Enjoy the last few minutes. Dip dishes. Hi all. You're too late. Just ending the video. But of course you can watch it back if you want. And of course I bumped my mic again. And they really need to relocate my mic or do something else with my mic because I'm bumping in it all of the time. It's a bit annoying. Yeah, that's interesting holes located everywhere for some reason. But yeah, we're probably going to look at the bunkers in another time. If you want to know an interesting site for all those French Sherman tanks, you have to look at this site. Charles Le France. Ciao. M4 Français. It's all the. It's pretty much a list of all the Sherman tanks the French had in their ordnance, sorted by name. Say Borgerlijn zal hier wel tussen staan. Ja, de Borgerlijn 2. Je hebt de Borgerlijn. And the Borgerlijn was knocked out at Saarbrücken. And all those tanks we saw in Normandy are on this list. Probably that one that was in Romanche is on this list too. And some have a complete history and some pictures, others don't. Of course, all in French, but you can translate it into English with Google if you want. Some of the... No, I can't spot. It's the current one, but it has no information. Dunkirk, Dunkirk 2, Dunkirk 3. Where's Dunkirk 1? Friedland. 2 Friedlands. Interesting. Oh, the 3 Friedlands. So it's the Friedland 1, Friedland 2, Friendly. Fort National. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see all the Sherman Jeanne d'Arc. That's Sherman, I know. Jeanne d'Arc 1, Jeanne d'Arc 2, Jeanne d'Arc 3, Jeanne d'Arc 4, I think. Or there were 2 Jeanne d'Arcs. Yeah, 2 Jeanne d'Arcs from different companies. But yeah, it's also a really interesting site. They also have other tanks if you want to identify them. So pretty much all the Charbis are here. Wow, the 2 on the list that are in the Samur tank are also on this list. Some of the monuments of the Charbi are also on this list. Madagascar is also a pretty well-known Charbi 1 tank. It's probably on this list too. Yeah, here's the Madagascar. Captured by the Germans. Abandoned. Some nice colored picture. There's even a newsreel of this tank with Germans filming this tank. Of course, pretty well broadcasted or documented, as you can see, by Germans and by the French. Probably abandoned at the Somme in May 1940. So that's also really interesting. They have pretty much all the types of tanks. I think even newer ones on this list. So you can pretty much keep an whole list of all French tanks if you're interested to look at that. The large circle, could it be a former World War II German radar installation? That large circle you've seen? Probably not. You've seen the radar installation. It's that small little bunker you've seen. You can see one at Armans. We have found a few of them, of those radar positions. But the one that I can show pretty much instantly is this one. This little small pentagon shape with some intrusion sticking out. Those bunkers are radar positions. Probably can't see a picture of it. Oh, that's a drone shot. Oh, that's perfect. That's a radar bunker. Right there. All these smaller positions for radar installations, smaller bunkers around it. And of course, underground bunker right here. That's yeah, I think this is also a piece of a bunker, some entrance or something, but everything is on the ground. They should restore this place, probably dig out that bunker and do something with it. But yeah, That will be the last question. I'm going to leave you here at Armanch. So I hope you all enjoyed this live stream. I'm going to see you in the next one. If I probably going to do a next one. If you want, you can. I'm going to make a pool. Maybe I'm going to do something like this in the Ardennes with the Battle of the Bulge, or maybe alongside the coastline in the Netherlands, or maybe some bigger bunkers on the other side of France. That's also really interesting to see. Well, hope you enjoy this. Enjoy the last few seconds of this view, and I will see you later.